Welcome to Bookworm Dash, the home where stories from the pens of South African writers come to life. Here, you'll discover captivating Afrikaans novels, Afrikaans short stories, and English tales to enjoy while doing your daily chores or simply relaxing. Thank you for visiting us. Please give us a like and subscribe so we can continue sharing more stories and help our channel grow. We welcome your comments, positive or negative, as every bit of feedback helps us improve. All copyrights belong to the respective writers. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the story.
The Chains of Erevan, written by Steve Volshank. The sky was a wound, raw and open, exhaling smoke that curled like the breath of forgotten gods. Beneath it, the earth lay scarred, a wasteland where time had unraveled, leaving only ash and silence. In the heart of this desolation knelt a man, bare-chested and barefoot, his wrists bound by chains that pulsed with veins of molten light. They were not mere metal, but something alive, half buried in the cracked ground, tethering him to a fate older than the stars. His name was Erevan, though no one had spoken it in centuries. The weight of it lingered in his bones, heavy as the fire that roared around him. He remembered the moment the sky had torn open. The air had screamed, and the world had shuddered as if struck by a god's fist. He had not cried out then, his defiance ablaze against the chaos. But now, centuries later, as the flames licked his skin and the chains burned deeper, a scream clawed its way from his chest. Not of pain, but of memory.
You chose this,
A voice had whispered long ago, cold as the void.
You opened the gate.
I chose nothing.
He had spat back, his voice raw with rage.
I was born chained.
That was before the fire had consumed the world, before the realm of man crumbled under the weight of its own lies, before he learned the truth of his blood, a truth that bound him to the divine and the damned in equal measure. They called his kind the bound, men and women cursed with fire in their veins, guardians of the threshold between the mortal and the divine. But Erevan had never guarded anything. He had been hidden away, raised in the shadows of a crumbling village far from temples and tales, his existence a secret even to himself. His mother, a woman with eyes like dying embers, had whispered to him in tongues no longer spoken. She had traced sigils on his back with her blood, her prayers trembling with fear of what listened in the dark.
When they come for you, do not kneel.
Her voice breaking.
The fire does not bow. The fire remembers.
He had forgotten her face, but her words burned in him still. Every ember in the vortex that surrounded him now pulsed with his name, a drumbeat of destiny he had spent lifetimes trying to outrun. The air was thick with sulfur and cinder, the ground beneath him carved with an ancient seal, a language older than humanity, its symbols etched into the earth like a curse spoken at the dawn of creation. The portal behind him gaped, a maw of endless hunger, spewing sparks and thunder that shook the bones of the world. The wind howled, not with the voice of the earth, but with something other, beast and human, god and ghost, all woven into a chorus of torment. A figure emerged from the smoke, stepping through the haze like a specter born of ash. She was tall, robed. In shadow, her collarbone adorned with silver tattoos that shimmered with each breath. Her eyes were black, not empty but reflective, like obsidian catching the light of a dying flame. She moved with purpose, her presence tightening the chains around Erevan's wrists.
You,
he growled, his voice low and guttural.
Me,
she replied, her voice soft as falling ash.
Did you think the gate would open without me?
you're not real.
he said, his eyes narrowing.
You're a trick of the in-between, a watcher.
I am what you remember.
She said, circling the seal like a predator.
And what you chose to forget.
He struggled to his feet, the chains resisting, searing his flesh with their molten pulse.
I burned my past, buried it under a mountain of silence.
And yet, here you are.
Her smile sharp as a blade. Beyond the gate, the world was dying. Cities had vanished into fog, their spires swallowed by a mist that whispered of endings. Seas had turned to black glass, reflecting a sky where the stars had gone dark, one by one, until only the fire remained, deep and endless. Burning within the gate Erevan had opened with his own blood. He was the key, as he had always been, and the gate had never wanted to be closed.
I can end it,
he said, his voice hoarse from centuries of silence.
I can seal it again.
You can,
She agreed, her tone almost gentle.
but you won't.
He glared at her, his chest heaving.
Why?
She stepped closer, her breath warm against his face.
Because you are not chained to the world. You are chained to her.
The name he had buried behind walls of fire tore itself free, rising like bile in his throat.
Leora.
The storm around them faltered, as if time itself had stumbled. Leora. Her name was a wound, a memory of a life he had tried to forget. She had died, hadn't she? Long ago, in the rain, her blood painting the stones, her fingers clutching his wrist as she begged him not to let them take her. Or had she?
Let me show you.
Her voice a thread of smoke. The world dissolved. The fire vanished, replaced by the cold sting of rain. Erevan was no longer bound. He knelt in a street of broken cobblestones, holding Leora's trembling body in his arms. Her heartbeat was faint, her blood warm against his hands, her eyes wide with terror.
Don't let them take me.
She whispered, her voice breaking. He had failed her. The memory shattered, and he was back in the fire, the chains biting deeper, the portal roaring behind him.
You will not use her.
He screamed, pulling against the bindings. The power within him surged, a wildfire tearing at the edges of reality. The woman only smiled.
We are her. All your ghosts, all your guilt, all your choices.
The fire surged, and the gate opened wider. Erevan had once been a god, or something close to it. His memories of that time were fragments, glimpses of a realm where light was weightless and voices spoke in the cadence of stars. He had walked among mortals as the skyborn, his wings of radiant flame stretching across horizons, his presence a beacon of awe and fear. They had built temples in his name, offered prayers to the fire that burned in his blood. But that was before the fall, before the chains, before the world turned to ash.
You were made to rule.
His captor had said, its voice a chorus of flame and shadow.
So now you will kneel.
He had never seen its face, only felt its 1,000 hands shaping the vortex that became his prison. Time had collapsed in that place, days bleeding into centuries, each moment a forge of pain and fire. Every scream he loosed shook the world beyond. A tremor felt in the hearts of those who still whispered of the curse of the gate. Erevan dragged himself toward the heart of the storm once more. The portal pulsed like a living thing, its rim of fire a wound that refused to heal. Beyond it lay the world he had fallen from, a world that had forgotten him, or so he thought, until she came. Leora, a mortal with wild eyes and salt wind in her hair, standing at the edge of the abyss, whispering his name like a prayer. She had not run, had not knelt. She had looked at him, and he had felt it. A recognition, a pull, a tether to something he had lost.
Why are you here?
He had asked, his voice barely audible over the roar of the flames.
To bring you back.
Her words steady despite the chaos. Now, as the chains tightened and the vortex screamed, he felt her again. Her voice was a thread through the storm, a lifeline pulling him toward the world beyond. The firestorm raged, but Erevan rose. The flames licked his skin, but they could not claim him. Not now, not with her on the other side. He staggered forward, the chains dragging behind him like the weight of his sins. Each step was a defiance, a refusal to kneel. The portal's light burned brighter, its hunger palpable, but Erevan's will was a fire of its own.
Remember me,
He whispered, his voice carrying through the storm. The world shuddered. The scream that tore from his throat was not one of pain, but of release. The flames surged, crackling through the chains and the iron loops that bound them. The arcane seal beneath him groaned, its symbols fracturing like glass under the weight of his will. The circle shattered with a pulse like thunder, and the chains fell away, their molten light fading into ash. Erevan stood at the edge of the portal. His body changed. His skin glowed with sigils that pulsed in rhythm with the flickering gate. His frame leaner, stronger, as if the fire had forged him anew. The voice inside him, the one that had taunted and tormented, was silent. But the woman, the watcher, remained.
why are you still here?
He asked, his voice rough as broken stone. She stepped closer, her silver tattoos gleaming.
Because the price wasn't just yours.
Erevan's chest tightened, dread pooling in his gut.
You said I was the one they needed.
You are.
Her eyes meeting his. They were no longer black, but silver, like starlight trapped in glass.
But I'm the one they wanted.
The air shimmered, and the wasteland around them cracked apart. Above, the sky flared to life, stars igniting like eyes opening after a long sleep. The portal's roar softened, its hunger sated, but Erevan felt the weight of her words.
You don't have to do this,
He whispered, his voice trembling. She smiled, gentle and sorrowful.
You weren't meant to scream forever, Erevan. You were meant to sing.
A blinding light erupted as she raised her arms. Wings, not of feathers but of pure, radiant force, burst from her shoulders, their brilliance tearing through the darkness like a blade of dawn. The ground crumbled beneath them, the iron chains screamed, and the portal pulsed one final time. Then she was gone, drawn into the rift that swallowed the last of the chains, the fire, the smoke, and the wasteland itself. Silence fell, heavy and complete. Erevan stood alone in a meadow of ash, blinking up at a reborn sky. The stars above sang with a harmony he had not heard in centuries, their light weaving through the air like a melody. His hands, once weapons of fire and destruction, now hummed with quiet energy, a power no longer bound, but free. A single feather drifted down, neither white nor black, but silver, edged in flame. He caught it, its warmth a reminder of the price paid, of the tether that had pulled him back. For the first time in eternity, Erevan sang. His voice was not the roar of fire or the scream of chains, but a melody of loss and redemption, a song for the world he had lost and the one he might yet rebuild.
Thank you for listening with us here at Bookworm. Please remember to like and subscribe so we can let you know when the next exciting story is available. Hope to see you again soon.